Grace and peace, everybody. We're back, and we're going to jump in real quick because Trump is arriving at the RNC. So let's talk about it. Let's go. Hey, buddy. Good morning. All rightly so. Hold on one second. 1 second. Make a quick adjustment. Sorry about that. Let me make a quick adjustment because I don't think the link is out there to the peoples. Okay. Let's see what we got here. It looks like it did not go out. Again, YouTube. Okay. Yep. It's not public. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, now I believe everybody will get a notification that I'm on live. Wow. I tell you, boy. I tell you. Wow, that is going to be crazy looking. Mm-hmm. Mm. Can't hear the video. Okay, let's see. Can you hear it now? All right, shout out to y'all. Thank you so much for letting me know. I just decided to go live rather quickly. So could you drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear it? Because, of course, I can hear it on my end. I want to make sure you all can on your end. Here, I'm going to play it again. I'm going to back up just a little smidgen so we can get a little bit of running start. You can't hear it now. Obviously. Okay. All right, give me a second. For some reason, they're saying they can't hear it. That's unfortunate. That's not cool. So you still can't hear it. Okay, let me just see what the problem is. I apologize for that. Let's fix that, Jason. Let's get that resolved so we can get back on track. I'm sorry for that. All right, it's not playing in your ears. I don't know why. So I apologize about that. Let's fix that very quickly. We'll just do it this way. Some reason or another, I've got to figure that out. It isn't. Me and the struggle stream is not cool. All right, let's jump this way.
For the Republican National Convention. They've also shut down maritime access to the Milwaukee River while the convention is taking place. And I want you to know that our political reporter, Doug Reardon,
let me know that y'all can hear now.
Is going to be reporting from the convention throughout the week. We also have special coverage of the RNC throughout the week right here on Atlanta News First Plus. All week long, again, Monday to Friday, starting at 11 o'clock. So I hope that you come back and join us for that. And we're going to take a deep dive into everything happening with the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this week, especially given the events over the weekend with the former president. All right, let's talk about a little bit of other local news that we're following this morning. Student reading levels here, or scores.
All right,
here
so
in Georgia, unfortunately are still lower than pre-pandemic
I am super
levels,
sorry about that. So I'm going to,
a newly appointed
since you all did not hear that earlier, I'm going to back this up a little taste.
Atlanta News
and we'll just kind of go back over it. They're basically talking about the RNC here in, not here,
Georgia
but in
lawmakers
Milwaukee,
created the Georgia Literacy Council.
And what's going to be going on there. So I'll back this up a little taste and let's get started right here. Since you
Thanks
all
so much
can
for
hear
being
it.
with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Limdacker,
now the
and this
volume is
morning,
low.
former
It's a
President
conspiracy.
Trump is recovering after what the FBI calls an assassination attempt on his life. I want to show you that footage. I'm sure many of you have seen that stunning footage from the rally over the weekend. Mr. Trump was speaking at this campaign rally Saturday night in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a gunman opened fire. Certainly has shaken so many around the nation, needless to say, those at the rally. And one person attending the rally was killed. 2 others were critically hurt in addition to this. But again, former President Trump is now recovering. He actually arrived in Milwaukee late yesterday for the Republican National Convention. He also called for unity and resilience as shocked leaders across the political divide really recoiled from the shooting that left him wounded, but as he says, fine. Here in Georgia, leaders across the political spectrum are condemning the violent attack on Saturday on the former president and his supporters. Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Schramm is at the state capitol, where our governor is among those weighing in.
Remember, Governor Brian Kemp and former President Donald Trump are not exactly friends, even though both are in the same political party, both Republicans. Still, the governor said he is deeply thankful that Trump survived this. Take a look. Kemp sent out a statement on social media Saturday night saying that all Georgians mourn the innocent life lost and pray for the attendees still receiving care. He said what happened is horrific and contrary to everything our nation stands for. Several other politicians weighed in with similar messages. A lot of people are concerned about security with this week's Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. We have confirmed that a special group of Sandy Springs police officers governors is headed there to assist with security. Of course, one of the attendees will be Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here is what she is expecting.
There'll be a different tone at the convention. I'm sure the security will be drastically heightened.
Georgia Democrats also are condemning the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, who's the lead pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta, said from the pulpit yesterday, it's not about right and left, it's about right and wrong. At the state capitol, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
Thanks so much to Rebecca for that report. So I mentioned the Republican National Convention, and it is set to start today in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But the shooting of former President Trump has really not changed any security measures. The Republican Convention is considered a national special security event. U.S. Secret Service says that they will not make changes to the extensive security plans that they've been in the works, I should say, for well over a year now. Officials said while they were monitoring social media for any signs of trouble, any potential threats, thankfully they have not found any reason to be concerned at this time. Let's listen.
We've seen an uptick in social media chatter, people talking about what happened, and we as the leads for all intelligence matters related to the RNC, the FBI, we evaluate all of that to make sure that if it trends into criminal activity or threat-based information, we evaluate that and again disseminate it out to our federal and state partners for action.
And Wisconsin, just like Georgia, is an open carry state, but no firearms will be allowed inside the Secret Service perimeter for the Republican National Convention. They've also shut down maritime access to the Milwaukee River while the convention is taking place. And I want you to know that our political reporter Doug Reardon is in Milwaukee. He's going to be reporting from the convention throughout the week. We also have special coverage.
All right, what happened there, Jason? What happened?
Of the RNC throughout the week, right here on Atlanta News First Plus, all week long, again, Monday to Friday, starting at 11 o'clock. So I hope that you come back and join us for that. And we're going to take a deep dive into everything happening with the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this week, especially given the events over the weekend with the former president. All right, let's talk about a little bit of other local news that we're following this morning. Student reading levels.
All right, so we're not going to talk about student reading levels. However, they are going to be talking about, I'm going to jump a little bit forward because they are going to be talking about the Florida case, which a lot of people are talking about already. So let's see where they are with that.
And what you're looking at here is footage from Mr. Trump's criminal trial in New York. But this breaking news into our newsroom just moments ago, former President Trump's Florida classified documents indictment case has now been dismissed. Again, this breaking just moments ago, the judge has now dismissed the classified documents case against the former president, Donald Trump. Remember, this is one of several criminal prosecutions against the former president, including one here in Fulton County, Georgia. And again, this is a separate case. So this was being led by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. This is a federal case. And again, there's still that case right here in Fulton County, Georgia, being led by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. So, of course, we're going to continue to follow that. And again, that's a completely separate case from what is taking place here in Fulton County, Georgia. But this breaking just moments ago, the federal classified documents case against former President Trump has now been dismissed. The judge here in this case actually ruling today that the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith violated the Constitution. So there's certainly a lot to unpack here. Of course, all this comes after what the FBI describes as an assassination attempt on the former President Trump.
Wow.
We're going to continue following all the breaking developments. And again, I want to remind you that 11 a.m. we are going to have a stream completely focused on the Republican National Convention. We're going to have that every single day this week. Our political reporter, Doug Reardon, is in Milwaukee following the latest with the Republican National Convention. All right, for now, let's transition over to this forecast. I see a lot of orange on this map.
It's hot here in Georgia, that's for sure.
First alert
All right,
meteorologist
so what are
Rodney
y'all
Harris
thinking
over
about
here.
this? This is
Okay,
pretty.
so,
this is pretty wild. That hold on, let me get this out of the way.
We're here for you to let you know about some changes.
There we go. All right. So what are y'all thinking about this? Because it seems like every one of the cases, even the New York case that was brought to trial and a jury made a decision, even those cases seem to be a little falling apart, if you will. Not saying they fall apart, but they just don't seem to be as solid as they should have been, considering, you brought real bona fide charges against this man. And now, you can't seem to get to sentencing. This case is just being outright dismissed. The other case is being stayed until almost till the election. Like, it's starting to really sound like, I know we've been typing lawfare in the chat, and I appreciate you typing lawfare in the chat, because this is what this sounds like to me. Unadulterated, unequivocal lawfare. Just, you are punishing your ideological enemy with the law. You're using the law to penalize your ideological enemies. And what else could it be? Make it something else that it's not. If it's not lawfare, what is it? Please don't tell me it's justice. Please don't tell me it's seeking the right thing. When you take a misdemeanor case and you turn it into 34 felony cases, please don't tell me that you're seeking justice. When you take a document case and you literally use the place markers as evidence that they are what was actually being held. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't do that. You're smarter than that. And please don't tell me, and here in Georgia, we're complete and utter shambles. What was this? If it wasn't lawfare, what was it? All right. Man, another person's passed away? Yeah, it's so sad. That's terrible. I will look into that very quickly. I'm going to change this green. I want to change this background some. Oh my gosh, that's too green. I'm going to make it a little less green though, Jason. That's too green. That's not going to work. Oh, that's like crazy. I like that green. Okay. Let's try again. Hey, Mandy, how are you? Good to see you. Mandy in the building. Thank you so much for stopping by. Tina and Q, good to see y'all. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, man, it does sound like some of you have seen a third world country, man. This does not seem like what you would expect to see here stateside. Let me just real quick. I'm sure it's probably on the real quick. And if you like this content, please don't hesitate to hit that like button. It doesn't cost you one thing to hit that like button. Not a thing. All right, let's see. Okay, I see a lot about the RNC. Okay, looking. Okay, they're still reporting that both of the injured men are still in the hospital. So let's look on the good old Twitter. I'm sure they're probably posting it there as well. All right, let's see. All right, I see a new Tom McDonald video, but I don't see anything about this man passing away. If you could drop me in the link, I'll definitely go check it out. But we will we don't have to be breaking news on that. So, Twitter is insane today. I'm sure Twitter is losing its mind as always. There we go. Now we're cooking, Jason. Now we're cooking. That's a little bit better. I like this green. That's the one I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. All right. I'm just kind of surfing through. And I don't see anything about the other person. But that doesn't mean anything. I'll keep looking, but for sure. But I do appreciate it. Let's see what we got here in the comment section. Let's go. And I do think this is interesting. The rules of engagement did seem to change on the fly during the assault on former President Trump. Just seemed like, well, why are you doing it like that? But I don't see it anywhere, Shara. Yeah, most people are saying that the person seems. I always got to take Tom McDonald with a grain of salt, so I got to listen to it first. I think he's okay. Your pastor is being attacked on X. Can I ask what did he say? Or I'll pull it up real quick and we'll look at it. If you don't mind, if you're okay with that, Tina, I would be happy to look at it while we're waiting for the Atlanta news first to start with the RNC. Yeah, and I wasn't planning, again, like I said, wasn't planning on talking much about the RNC today, but if we have some time and there's some good opportunities to find some information, I'll gladly talk about it. Let's see. So it seems like most people are not okay. I've seen lots of people of political stripes that are not too keen on the Secret Service breakdown. And I see somebody even here, Jason, and is talking about it right here about the Secret Service head is a woman, and she wants like 30% more women. And I'm sure we've all seen the 3 women chasing after the SUV once Trump was put into it. It was a lot of cringe. Let's just say it like that. I didn't feel like, I thought it was a comedy skit. I ain't gonna even lie. Initially, I thought, I was like, this must be a joke. But I mean, no, it was real. I don't think that's a good idea. Not mad at ladies, but I just don't think that's a good idea, in my opinion. Like, what are the duties and responsibilities of a Secret Service agent? Like, for example, sure, I know it's Hollywood, but all these president and Secret Service movies where a Secret Service agent has to protect the president through a gauntlet of bad people that want to do harm to the president. I mean, what are the requirements of the Secret Service? Do they have to potentially carry a president or drag an injured man out of the line of fire? Is that what the expectation is? Like, what are they expected to do? Because let's say there was a team of 12, and heavens forbid, all but one of that 12 were removed off the field, and it was just the president and one of those women. What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to, and the president is injured, so he needs to be dragged, he needs to be carried. Is the expectation that they're going to be doing that? Because I didn't understand. What I saw on Saturday was wild. I was like, yo, am I supposed to believe that these women are supposed to carry an injured man? Or let's say one of their teammates is injured and they're in a hostile situation. Are they supposed to drag that man off of the field? Were any of those women able to carry or drag any of those men off the field in a heightened situation or compromised situation. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? I don't get it. Tina, did you want to drop that link or is it okay? Yeah, some of those Secret Service women were a foot shorter than Trump. I mean, I'm not saying they can't use their weapons, but I'm just saying, like, how are they protecting? I would love to know, like, what is the requirement of protection for a president from the Secret Service agents? Are they, again, expected to drag them, carry them, fight for them? I mean, for crying out loud. What if it got into a hand-to-hand situation? Is this woman supposed to be able to fight off an attacker with her bare hands? Just asking questions. And it just seemed like they set him up for, this is a setup for a very bad situation, in my opinion. All right, good to see you, Rick Caldwell. Grace and peace to you, my friend. Thank you so much this morning for stopping through. I appreciate you. Okay. Q said, I'm mad at ladies. Go home. The Secret Service women were a foot shorter than Trump. Yeah, I mean, easily a foot. Maybe even shorter than that. Like, what is the requirement? Here, let's find that video real quick. Because I just thought it was extremely interesting. I think Phil had it on his channel, I think. And I'm not saying they're not capable of protecting with their weapons, even though we saw some shadiness even with that. But it just seemed like, what is the expectation of victory or success for this team? Where's that video? Where is it? Because I didn't intend to do it, so that's why. And then we could definitely talk about because we can definitely talk about the various people from the military that are commentating on the we can definitely talk about the various people on social media talking about the Secret Service. Real quick, let's look at this. Let's get Jason out of the way. Struggle stream, Jason. All right, let's go back up a little smidgen. It's only about a minute. She can't holster her weapon. And she finally got it. I'm sorry. They look considerably shorter than all the men on their team. Not just than Trump. Like, they look considerably shorter. And hey, I'm only 5'6", so I'm not a giant at all. So I'm not mad at you because you're short. Okay? Short people matter too. But it is fair to say these women are not going to be able to provide, I don't feel like, adequate protection. I think that's a reasonable comment. Like, oh, here's a longer clip of it, just so we can see it all a little bit, played out a little bit better. I hope I'm not being too harsh about this. And it seems like a lot of people also agree, like, yo, this is scary times. Okay, let's go. Okay. Like, this gentleman right here in the full tactical, he's considered, now, sure, he has a helmet on, probably has boots on, but he looks considerably taller. All of these fellows right here, the two bald guys and this guy right here, they all look taller than these women. I'm like, don't you just want a bigger body, for crying out loud? I don't understand. And they're on the ground, so they're not, like, look, this woman right here with the ponytail and this man right here, I guesstimate he's at least a foot taller than her. And that was the case for many others. This woman right here doesn't look like she knows where she's supposed to go. Not trying to be foul. But, and again, this is a very chaotic situation. So there is a little bit of grace that's given there. But this gentleman right here seems to be completely in control. He knows what he's doing. He has a task. He has a chore. These women don't seem to know what they're doing. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, this woman just keeps turning around in a circle. She just, yeah, I don't think, okay. I could be wrong, but I did not get a heightened level of feeling like they know what they're doing. All right, DEI, y'all gonna have to make that make sense. Hey, man, thank you so much. Present, but not perfect. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Bless you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all stopping by. Represent better. Yo, okay. I saw somewhere. I told y'all that every now and then I go down the rabbit hole of gang podcasts, right? I saw a gang, like a bona fide street gang, that was like, "Hey, yo, we'll do security for you in Milwaukee." I gotta find that. Oh my gosh. Because I saw it and I was so embarrassed that I was actually down the gang podcast YouTube channel. But yeah, a straight up gang members wanted to provide security. I thought that was wild. Hold on. Oh my gosh, where is it? It's probably better this way. Jason. All right, it's better that I can't find it. Because it was wild. Like, but they were literally saying, "Hey, we'll provide security for you in Milwaukee, not a problem." I'm trying to find it. All right, I don't see it. Okay, it's better that way. But yeah, it was like literal gang members were like, "Yo, we'll provide security." That right there was wild. That just didn't look like. I'm sorry. If they still have jobs next Tuesday, it's a blight on Secret Service. If they have jobs by the end of the day, truth be told, I'll give them to Tuesday. But if they still have jobs, it is on them. I wish look, I'm trying to tell you. Oh, okay, never mind. All right, Tina, thank you so much. I will not post your pastor's back and forth conversation about this. We'll just leave it alone. I appreciate it though. All right. The woman's attention should have been watching the crowd and look confused. They do. They just don't look like they know what their assignment is. And again, the likelihood is that they're fairly new. The likelihood is that they've never been in this type of situation before. I hate to say it, but I'm sure there's some shenanigans with the providing protection for a former president. I mean, we've already heard them want to remove Secret Service protection anyway. So is it too far to believe that they would do this? And then of course we could talk about the actual person that was committed the crime. How did he get that close? Like, there's a lot of shenanigans. Again, and as the days and weeks go on, there's gonna be more and more and more that comes out of it. So, I mean, there's tons of commentary on the Twitter sphere about from ex-military personnel that are saying like the way this was handled was completely messed up. It was completely handled inappropriately, so on and so forth. So I think it'll be interesting to see what how that goes moving forward. I am all right, let's see what we got. And these rap videos about Donald Trump are hilarious. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like, oh, you know what? I do have this video because we were going to do it last night. I didn't do it last night. And the RNC is not on yet. So let's look at this. So by no means am I a military strategist or anything of that nature, but how is it that this clear line of sight was not known by now? Because this is where the sniper was. The sniper that took him out was sitting on this red roof, this white roof on the red barn, and the person that actually committed the attack was way over here. And how is it that this person was able to get up here? And again, this is a clear line of sight. So this would be something the pre-Secret Service teams would have already, or should have already, forgive me, already taken an opportunity to close down, to keep from having access, so on and so forth. Let's finish this up. How is that? That is embarrassing, man. Like just a straight line. How is that even possible? Okay, let me ask a question. All right, so looking at this picture right here, there's this lake right here. What's the likelihood that somebody was keeping an eye on this roof right here, where it's right by the lake? Looks like a long barn right here, or the one that's adjacent to it. Why was this one completely left open or left unattended to, whatever like that? But you had snipers looking in that direction. Oh, there you are. They're on the green roof right there, in the middle roof. But they were looking in that direction. But why was that direction even available? That's amazing. I'll be damned if I'm gonna stick around and take any more of your shit. I don't know about this music. So looking here, I mean, like, again, this dude had a clean 150, 200 yards sight right toward the president. And this has got to be the closest building next to this one by the pond. And nothing. Wow. There's some people need to lose their jobs for that, for sure. And dare I say even more worse than just lose their jobs. This is criminal. I mean, come on, man. I'm going to check out the Tom McDonald song, but I just don't want to get, I don't know how they didn't see him. I mean, that right there is telling. Let me back up just a little smidgen. This right here is horrible looking. Because, I mean, you can see just, that dude had clean line of sight. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. That is craziness. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves, man. I mean, he's just a man like everybody else. But my goodness, in the morning. Like this, I'm assuming this is probably further away. These two by the pond are further away. So maybe, but again, this is the closest structure, literally with a clean line of sight. That's crazy. Crazy. I don't know where they're going. They're going all the way out to space. They're going to try to pop them from Mars or something. What are you doing? They want you to see the whole thing. They want you to see all of Pennsylvania. All right. So that was yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah, the whole thing is just terrible. I agree. The images, right? Thank you so much, Transplanted Text. If you do like this, I mean, we got about 70 of us roughly watching. So hey, if you like it, hit that like button. Okay, so I know they saw him, but like, I agree. I've seen the clips and heard the clips that they saw him. Why was he allowed to get there, though? That's the part that's making me think that there was something about this that's we don't understand even more, even greater. Like, why was he allowed to even get that close? That's pretty close. Oh, like here's another image of it. Okay, pull this in for you. All right. Okay, let me see. So this person right here says, this is a muse, and I just found it and clicked on it. So I'm not vouching for what they're saying. It said, before blaming the Secret Service for a security failure, you need to realize that the building where the shooter was located was outside the Pac-Man security bubble. There are nothing the USSS could do to stop that shooter. DSSS Director Chattel made it clear it wasn't her fault. All right. So I don't know if this person is trying to be funny. I really hope that they're trying to be funny, and I really think that's what they're trying to do. I really think they are. Okay, they got to be being funny because the Pac-Man security bubble. Okay, well played, Amuse. You got me. You got me. Oh my goodness. All right, so here's the law. I think the sniper was in this middle building, or it could have been this one right here. I don't know. It's right here, one of these two buildings. The Butler Farm Showgrounds, we know that. Here are those bleachers that were around the stage. Here's Trump right there. This is the wounded rally attendee was right there. Okay. Stage where Trump is speaking. Location of suspected offender's body. And this is a Secret Service bubble. But I guess the bubble... He's calling it a Pac-Man. You got me. You got me. Y'all got me. They got me with that one. The Pac-Man. What is it called? The Pac-Man security bubble. I hate it because I actually was going along with that too. But now, the logical question is, this is inside the security bubble. Why was it? If this is the security bubble, which I'm sure is probably even wider than this, because all these houses, all these barns are outside of the quote unquote security bubble, and they're within easily a football field to the podium. I'm sure this was probably even wider than that. Just oh, okay. I'm sure it was probably wider than that. So how in the did they get that close without any kind of change up? No pushback. That's craziness. Okay, one second. All right. I don't see it. Oh, here we go, right here. I think I got Tina's mess. Oh. Somebody, I didn't get your message, Tina, but somebody has sent me this. The rap. I'm not gonna play this. Why are you people like this? I'm telling you, the internet is undefeated this week for sure, but just undefeated, hands down. Somebody sent me the rap of Donald Trump rapping to 50 Cent. All right. All right, we got to do this one. Come on, let's look at this one. There's a narrative that the Democrats are going to run with. Philadelphia Inquirer confirms that the Trump shooter was a conservative Republican. Former classmates would call him him being staunchly to the right of the political spectrum. Classmates where? Where? In high school. Okay, everybody, come on now. Come on now. He definitely was conservative. The majority of the class were the liberal side, but Tom, no matter what, always stood on his ground on the conservative side, a former classmate said. That's what I'm supposed to believe. So let me ask you a question. This is where they don't want you to actually think a logical question. If he's always conservative, then why would he be attacking former president? I'm just asking a question. See, this is the dumb stuff they want you to not think about. Or let me ask you another question. They said classmates. Classmates where? This dude probably has not even voted yet. If he's just 20 years old, when was the last time when could he have voted? When? Sure, he might have been aware of political climates and aware of so on and so forth, but he hasn't voted. So what does registered Republican mean? Because there are tons of people registered Republican or registered Democrat who probably identify as independents. And again, when I was a libertarian, I was a registered libertarian. But what does that mean if I don't vote libertarian? But at this point, had he ever been able to vote? Make this make sense, people. These people are trying their very best. I love this right here. Here's the classmate right here, the FBI. That's the classmate that said that. I think he's a pawn. I think he's just, now to do it, there's no, unless otherwise stated, I'm pretty sure he probably did that. But again, him being a quote unquote Republican, a conservative Republican, I'm sorry, you can't convince me of that. The dude is unequivocally was 20 years old. So that means he was 16 the last election. Okay. All right. That's what I'm supposed to believe. Not a problem. I'll believe whatever you tell me not to believe. But he donates to Act Blue, but he's conservative. Okay. Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. That's what you want me to believe. Gotcha. I'll believe whatever you want me to believe. All right. I do not see the comment from Tina, but it is probably my fault. Let me also open up my email. You can email me too, Tina, if you would like to. And I'm going to jump over and check on Atlanta news first as well. All right, there we go. Oh, dope. All right, let's see what Atlanta news first is up to. It's supposed to be rainy here in Georgia, and it's really hot at the current moment. Okay, nothing's going on at the moment, but we will jump back on them as soon as they're ready to talk about this good old RNC. Gotcha right here. All right, just got it queued up, ready to go when it's ready to pop on. All right, I don't see any comment, but is Black Law Student in here? I don't think so. Okay, so Pennsylvania is has a closed primary. He had to register as a Republican to vote for Haley in primary. Okay, but one, did he vote? Two, did he register or did he actually vote? Those don't have to be the same thing. But even more than that, even during the primary, this would have been his first election, I would assume, if I'm understanding correctly. But yeah, just it seems to be interesting to me. And they're making a lot of hay. Oh, got you. You just emailed it to me. Thank you, Tina. Because you know what? I'm not in my right email. What does his affiliation have to do with him attacking the president, is what I'm trying to. All right, this seems like a pretty short little clip. All right, so I got the clip. Thank you, Tina. And let me check it out so we can make sure that the YouTube under gods don't kick me off of here for it. All right, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna take the. So what I've heard so far, I like what he said so far, Tina. You know I would play it, so you know there's not because of any other reason, but because I don't want the under gods to ruin our live stream today. But I like what he said. Matter of fact, how about this one? Can I drop the link in the chat and other people are able to? There we go. That's what I'll do. I will drop the link in the chat. Is that okay, Tina? I think Tina is saying yes. Okay. Yeah, it's a short segment. I'm going to grab this, and this is the pastor of a wonderful member of the best live chat on the planet. Okay. And I just dropped that in the chat. Y'all check it out. But we will check it out as well. I just don't need the YouTube under gods to pull the plug on me while we're in the middle of the live stream like they did the other day. It was so shady. It's so shady. All right, I'm checking Atlanta news first. And it has not popped up yet. Oh, here's Wesley Hunter talking about the soft white underbelly of low expectations in voting and why the Democrats want people who are not even citizens to be able to vote, which is craziness. Can't believe we had to say that sentence. All right, let's see. I see lots of good commentary back and forth, and I appreciate it. I always appreciate the good commentary. So I'm waiting for Atlanta news first to come on. And in the meantime, let's jump back over here to the dumpster fire, also known as Twitter. Twitter is undefeated. I don't condone the words that are used in here, but my good in the morning. Hey, get Jason out of the way. Look at this right here. They said some Green Beret or Navy SEAL was passed over for Melissa McCarthy. And the bad thing is, it looks like Melissa McCarthy. Like, wow, that is pretty brutal. That is pretty brutal. It does look like her, though. Goodness gracious, man. I don't think we are much safer. I don't think our presidents and elected officials are safer. All right, we are waiting for Atlanta news first. There's so many people who've cratered their own careers over this. This is amazing, man. Like, I just see another person that has probably tanked his career at a particular rideshare company because he had something to say about this event. And it just seems like, dude, what's wrong with us, man? So this person says, it's a shame. He works at Uber. Better luck next time. Lucky next guy. Wow. Can you imagine that? And this person, works at Uber, I think. Yeah. He is going to probably end up being scuttled. He's going to probably end up losing his job over something that asinine. Like, what is wrong with you, man? Hold on one second. What's up, buddy?
The stuff that's sitting in my room, the stuff that was placed in my room because my room was used as storage, do you want me to take that to Goodwill until then I leave?
Is it Goodwill?
I think so.
Why don't you ask your sister? Is it like those book things?
Yeah.
Just bring all this stuff down here.
Okay.
All right. All right. President Firstborn. And man, she's a driver now, man. She just be trying to go places and stuff now. It's really weird. I don't know what even to say. All right, we got a good friend of the channel, Chad Jackson. Let me see real quick. No, Atlanta News First is not on yet. So a good friend of the channel did a review how the media is trying to place blame on this situation everywhere but where it needs to go. So here you go.
We need to find out more about any kind of identifiers on the shooter, who he was, what his motivations were.
Here's what we know right now. Just moments ago, law enforcement identified the gunman as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. No motive has been identified yet.
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to identify what that motive was.
I am poring over this individual's background in their history. Nothing we are seeing right now points to whatever it was that drove this individual to get on top of that roof today. We don't know exactly what the motive is.
He was bullied almost every day. I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays. So, like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it.
You're a kid.
But you never know.
We don't yet have any information about the motive of the shooter. We know who he is. I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job.
It's interesting. Hold on. I do think it's interesting. Usually when somebody does an event or crime, for example, if a person of less melanin does a crime against a person of high melanin, they immediately already know all their motives and they know their heart condition. That's why they call it a hate crime. That's why I say hate crimes are false crimes, because you don't know that. But so now they're looking at the motive for this. I guess because both people were of less melanin. This is amazing to me. All right, let's finish this up.
President Biden today arguing that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy.
Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution for some years to come.
I am so concerned. I know we have all these conversations about how Democrats can't scare people to the polls. I am scared.
Let me help you out. I don't think that the threat that Trump poses is really being taken seriously enough by some people. Liz Cheney, who I've worked for and known for 20 years, recently said that she warned that we may be sleepwalking into a dictatorship.
One of the things that we see happening today is sort of a sleepwalking into a dictatorship in the United States.
We don't take an oath to a country, to a tribe, to a religion, to a king, or to a tyrant, or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
What is central here is, do we want a dictator? No matter how popular he may be, no matter how good or bad the results of his policies may be, no president is supposed to be a dictator in the United States.
I know Trump would like to become dictator for life, and he's probably watching Vladimir Putin with envy.
Donald Trump believes that he should be the ruler the dictator of the United States of America. He actually is looking to change the Constitution.
There's no question he has authoritarian rulings and interests and notions which he will try and impose. That's dangerous for the country. And a number of the things he did in the last months of his presidency suggest what he'd do if he were elected again.
Trump represents an existential threat to democracy. He is an authoritarian figure. He is the first authoritarian figure ever nominated by a major party in the United States.
This rhetoric is so far outside the bounds of our normal politics that we have to address it as such. He doesn't see himself as a political candidate vying for the presidency. He sees himself as an insurgent who wants to overthrow the U.S. government. And that's what a lot of his people believe, too. He's completely outside the bounds of our political normalcy.
That hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says Make America Great Again, that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Do you still think it's fair to compare the Nazi attack on the Jews to what happened on January 6th?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like a threat to democracy. I know with my father, who was part of the Nazi party, they were lied to. They were misled. Wow. And I think a lot of people in America today are being misled.
Most people would agree Donald Trump might be the most divisive presidential candidate ever. Many are openly comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Yes. There are just people who are going to be conservative, and they're about to take over the government. And they're not going to give it back.
Historians are now comparing what Donald Trump is saying in public on the campaign trail to dictators like Mussolini. He would try to stay in power forever.
If he becomes president again, he's never going, listen, he's not going to not stop being president. You understand this? Yeah. His idea is to stay in until he drops dead.
That's it. He's not even conceding it now. So imagine if he actually did win the election. Yeah. It's over. If he gets elected, it's going to change this country for everybody.
We have a president who will refuse to leave office if he loses the election.
I never expected that my successor would embrace my vision or continue my policies. I did hope, for the sake of our country, that Donald Trump might show some reverence for the democracy that had been placed in his care. But he never did. Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe.
They don't understand because they're saying that 26-year-olds and under are not feeling President Biden. You know, they better be careful what they want because this is the generation that's going to lose their abortion rights and their voting rights. They're the ones to be worried. You don't replace dissatisfaction with a dictatorship.
Trump will put black people in camps.
If that man gets in, as soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces and say, now, I'm the king of the world. You will bow down, bitches. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him. Let me tell y'all how I know this. I know it because I know what mental illness looks like.
We need to remind people the threat that Donald Trump poses, not just for 4 years, but for generations. Supreme Court is at risk. Women's rights are at risk. Civil rights are at risk. And I would just remind people of that.
You think that it's appropriate that somebody who incited that riot and won't apologize for it should get another term to run the country? He's 5 years old and he's a horrible, amoral human being. We can't have him. There are times I almost wish I could, or somebody else would. We can't have him. He's dangerous.
Why don't we have any idea who his VP is going to be? Is it because he's not running for president of the United States? He's running for king of the United States, and there's no such thing as a vice king. This is a man who has been very clear that he plans to be a dictator. This is not going to end well for any of us. Dictatorships never do. So we would be smart to kill this one before it starts.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Shout out to Chad Jackson. Shout out to Chad Jackson. That was a great Little Ma, she does some fantastic. If you're not following Chad O. Jackson on Twitter and Chad O. Jackson on YouTube, if I could have the moderators, please drop their information in there. It would be very helpful. Would love to and support this brother and what he does. But I appreciate y'all. Let's see if Atlanta News First is popping. Let's see if they got themselves together yet. They've not gotten themselves together. So it's 11:10. And let me go see what y'all are saying in the chat. What y'all think about the montage? Let's go. Yeah, what about unborn rights? To me, I think this party doesn't want you to think. I would love for them to tell me, when did Trump say he was going to be a dictator? Can you timestamp that for me? Send me the video, timestamp when he said he wanted to be a dictator. Because I got a lot of people saying he thinks he wants to be a dictator. I know that he thinks he wants to be a dictator, but what are they talking about? When did he say this? And maybe he did say it. I don't know. Maybe he did. I would just like to know, where did he say it? Thank you so much, Shar. Shar just dropped Chad's link down there. Thank you so much. Check out what he's doing. Thank you so very much. Yeah, this is pretty wild. But you want to blame it on a 20-year-old kid who, again, he's responsible for his deeds done in the flesh, and he'll be judged for that accordingly. However, you want to blame it on him rather than pointing out what you all have said. Because, I mean, some of those comments were pretty graphic. They're pretty serious. So hopefully more and more people will realize, we're the problem. We've brought about this. Hey, Kristen, thank you so much for stopping by, even though you just got from work. What'd you say here? I just can't understand these people who support a man that wrote a crime bill. I can't with these foolish people. I don't understand it. He said it in their nightmares. I think same time when he said he would support the 2025 project. And so many people have just run with that. But I'm like, where did he say this? Maybe he thinks it's good. Maybe there's a part of it that thinks that's good. And so because the one part is good, you attribute the whole thing to him. I don't know. Maybe the 2025 project says everybody should have clean drinking water. Trump supports clean drinking water. Therefore, Trump supports the 2025 project. Where are you getting that from? I mean, Trump also supports UNICEF. I guess if that be the case, they want clean drinking water. That's just craziness. Yes, come on. Terry says, I am tired of this democracy talk. We're a constitutional republic. Really? Okay. But see, and again, this is where I say that I feel like Trump does play into the shenanigans of the left. He didn't have to say that. If he said that, even if he was saying, if I was a dictator for a day, I would run all the people off to the border, whatever he was saying, he didn't have to use that word, because you got to think this is what they're going to run with. Because if that's all he said, Tina, and of course it seems pretty benign, it seems like, why would you want to allow your adversaries to have that kind of ammunition? That would be just my little pushback. Okay, Kristen, I see what you're saying. Thank you so much. All right, let's see what Atlanta News First is doing. They are not doing what they said they were going to do. They said they were going to be ready to talk about this, and they're not. Now they are. I just had to refresh. Sorry.
Into the space, into the arena, is an hour-long process because there are 2-3 perimeters. All right, Doug's giving me the thumbs up. I think we can toss to him. Doug, you can hear me, correct?
Yes, I can hear you, Brendan. Apologies about that. Let me pick up right where you left off, though. Getting inside, that has been quite a chore for us. We had wanted to join you from inside of Fiserv Arena, but just to give you a little bit of a look around at some of the security measures that are in place here, roads are blocked off. There is traffic like you wouldn't believe outside of the arena where this is actually happening. And this is a very common scene all around this Secret Service perimeter, as I'm sure you know from past conventions.
Doug,
security is taken very seriously. This is actually...
We're not getting your sound through the router here.
Oh, I can hear him perfectly.
While
Can
we
y'all
work
hear
on
okay?
that, we can keep it shot up, and you can hear me while I talk over this. We're going to wait for Doug's sound to come through. But if you can keep your shot up, Doug, with you off the frame until we get your sound.
Keep the shot up.
We can sort of describe the scene as well. You can see these barricades there. So those are the classic Jersey barriers you're used to seeing. This would be the outer perimeter. There are layers of protection at these conventions, layers that do not have appeared to be in place in Butler, Pennsylvania over the weekend. I can tell you again from having been in Cleveland in 2016 and also in Philadelphia for both of the party's conventions, you had this outer perimeter to stop vehicles. Just to get past that first perimeter, you have to have credentials.
Right.
To get into the second layer perimeter, you have to go through airport level security. All of your equipment, all of your camera gear, everything on your person has to be scanned. That process can take quite a bit of time.
It's hardwired. We can't use wireless.
That happens way away from the arena. So if someone was to have an improvised explosive device or something to that effect, they would not be able to get close to the arena. Or if they had a weapon of some kind, they're so far away at that point.
I go, it's
and Doug
hardwired
right now is we're trying to get his sound.
He is turned up, boy. He is.
Good. Okay, Doug, go ahead.
Hey, Brendan, can you hear me?
There in Milwaukee.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Tech issues are just going to happen, right? But so we're on the ground here in Milwaukee. We're literally about 2 blocks away. I want to keep showing you this from Fiserv Arena, where most of the action is going to be taking place. The next time we see you, we will be inside Fiserv Arena, which for anyone who pays attention to sports is where the Milwaukee Bucks play. It's a fairly sizable stadium. It's all decked out right now on the inside for the RNC, but this is the more common scene all the way around. There's a good 8x4 block radius where traffic is really bogged up, and then once you get inside of these perimeters here, that is kind of where things are very, very locked down. You have to have your credentials on if you're media at all times. If you're a delegate, you have to have your credentials on at all times. And so this is, as I'm sure you mentioned, Brendan, one of those very, very few and rare events that Secret Service actually designates as a special national security event. And that kind of entails a little bit of extra prep, a little bit of extra intelligence, a little bit of extra coordination on their end. And so you can clearly see that here. You know, I've been to a lot of Trump rallies. I've been to many high-profile political events, but by far this is the one with the most security. And actually, we did get to hear from Secret Service yesterday as far as any of their plans changing because of what happened in light of Saturday with the assassination attempt, and they said no. We're kind of saying, you know, we had this in place, we had these plans in place, and so regardless of what happened on Saturday, we were ready to go anyways. There's a lot of local police here as well. In fact, I'm told there are some agencies from Georgia that are lending a hand with the security procedures here this weekend. So we've seen Milwaukee police, we've seen Wisconsin State Police, Michigan State Police, Chicago Police, and of course U.S. Secret Service and FBI agents as well, just kind of mulling around here, making sure everything is safe. We were able to get inside the perimeter last night as well, and things were a little more lax, but today they've really tamped up. They want your credentials on at all times if you're a delegate or a member of the media. We're also kind of told that you know, there would be frequent security sweeps as well. That may be in light of what happened on Saturday. But then we also got this news today that the VP pick would be announced, and so we are going to try and get in there as soon as we can to try and hear what people are saying about this, who they think it might be. Of course, as you mentioned, J.D. Vance, there were some federal vehicles outside of his home yesterday that his neighbors reported to the media, and so that's a pretty interesting sign for sure. They're all going to be here. Donald Trump had a lot of his surrogates at the debate. He had Byron Donaldson, he had J.D. Vance, he had Doug Burgum, he had Elise Stefanik there. They were all there stumping for him after the debate. They're all going to be here this weekend, and you have to wonder if the person who has been selected has been notified already. If they're announcing that today, you would certainly think so. But again, Secret Service not switching up anything that they already had in place, because this was already an incredibly high security event with lots of coordination and participation from federal agencies and local, Brendan.
You know, Doug, security is always a concern at these conventions. You know, I'm a veteran of multiple conventions, but I've never covered a political convention that occurred hours after an assassination attempt on a candidate or former president, and now we have both of those situations happening there in Milwaukee. Again, in my experience, it takes over an hour sometimes to get from that outer perimeter into the arena. what is the distance from that outer perimeter to the arena itself? And if you've gone into the arena yet, how long did it take you to go through that process?
Yeah, I wish we had talked earlier about the traffic delays because no, I'm joking, but I'll show you. Fiserv is literally about 3 blocks right down the road. Our GPS, we had to pull over right here on the side of the road. Our GPS had us at 36 minutes to get from this point right here to just 3 blocks down the road across the river at Fiserv Arena. So certainly, obviously, traffic is pretty backed up here just on one of the main arteries through downtown Milwaukee. And so, the other thing, too, that we learned at that Secret Service press conference yesterday was, man, the logistical lift for this and to host an event of this nature is insane. They had to talk to local businesses. They had to talk to all of their partners in the community as well, to figure out how is this going to impact your business? What can we do to help? What can we do to minimize the impact to pedestrians and drivers here? The answer was really just trying to make it as smooth as possible, try to get that literature about the zones out there, where people could go, where people couldn't go. But again, this is just kind of the nature of these events. Even when there's a political rally or a visit by a high-profile candidate in town, this happens. And so you're just going to have this over the next couple days. One other thing that I want to mention, too, is there was actually a legal fight over where protesters could voice their First Amendment concerns. There was an event that actually was meant to bring people out here to protest the RNC and to demonstrate outside of it. There was a First Amendment zone that was set up, and protesters said that's not close enough to the event for us to be able to express our First Amendment rights. So they went to the courts. Things didn't really change much for those protesters. So there is still a First Amendment zone just about 3 or 4 blocks south of where Fiserv Arena is, not far from the Milwaukee River. But again, we're going to see a lot of activity outside of this zone. Of course, hopefully the idea is that it's all safe activity, but you got to be able to, and they said this in the press conference yesterday, give people their ability to voice their First Amendment rights. And so that was really a big topic of conversation leading up to this convention, was where were people going to be allowed to protest? And it was a conversation even before what happened on Saturday with the assassination attempt. And so it really heated up again this weekend, talking about how do you balance safety concerns versus First Amendment rights, right? It's a tough thing to do, and Secret Service admitted that yesterday. But the First Amendment zone, to my knowledge, has not changed. It's still in that area where we were told it would be a couple of blocks south of the arena itself. But just to give you an idea kind of how this all works, it's a logistical lift like you wouldn't believe, and this is kind of the result, is all this traffic, all these barriers that have been set up, and so lots of activity even outside of that Secret Service zone. As I said, the next time that we see you later on this afternoon, we will be inside Fiserv Forum, where a lot of this activity is going to be taking place, and we presume where Donald Trump is set to announce his VP pick probably in just a couple of hours from now.
Doug, no question. I covered the 2004 Republican convention in New York City, and that was at Madison Square Garden, and you talked about the effects that this is having on a city like Milwaukee. Imagine New York City, and that was right after 9/11, just a couple of years after 9/11. So security was incredibly tight, plus there were protests. And in a city like New York, you can't shut down all of Manhattan because there's a political convention. So there was traffic, within a block and a half of Madison Square Garden, and still it brought New York City to a standstill. I can only imagine what's happening there in Milwaukee. We've talked a lot about security. I want to talk to you about what you think is going to be the big story today. Clearly, it's going to be the vice presidential pick, which former President Trump has announced he is going to make today. But do you think that's going to be the big story of today, or at least the next day or two?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, hey, when it rains, it pours with this political season. It seems to be the case, right? You had the assassination attempt on Saturday. Think about the week that Donald Trump has had, right? He nearly lost his life on Saturday, narrowly avoided that assassination attempt. Today, he gets one of his most threatening legal cases dropped. It's off the table now. And so I heard you mention this earlier, but my first thought there was all eyes are now going to be on Fulton County and what happens with this, really the only viable remaining criminal case, and even that's kind of a stretch given where that case is at with its appeal. But and now you have him coming out and saying he's going to make his VP announcement today. He told Brett Baer from Fox News that earlier this morning, to a lot of shock and surprise, because we expected that announcement to happen on Wednesday, and for Trump to make that announcement himself. I don't know if he's actually going to get up on stage and make that announcement. You would think, right? If it's his running mate, he's going to be up there on stage today inside the arena making that announcement. But we've gotten very little details. He just kind of dropped this on everybody this morning in a Fox News interview. And so once we get inside, I certainly expect to know a whole lot more about how that's going to go down and who's going to be making that announcement. But I still think that's the big story of the day. Because again, if Trump is going to be preaching unity in his speech, if he's changed his address a little bit after what happened on Saturday, I am interested to see how he goes into the rest of the week, if he's going to be making this big announcement today, and what kind of tone he strikes after what happened Saturday, and of course after his criminal case was dropped. He definitely has a tendency to go off script, we know that, and so I'm going to be very much listening, in light of all of what's happening today, to Trump's tone and his message if and when he gets up there on stage. But to your point, I think the VP pick is definitely the big story. Everyone knows that VP picks can make or break a race, right? I think about John McCain choosing Sarah Palin and how that kind of altered the course of the race for him. And so this is certainly a big day. It's going to mean a lot to a lot of people here. Certainly the delegates are very interested to see who that running mate would be. And so we'll wait and see. I really don't have a good guess for you. I'm not a betting man, but we're going to find out hopefully in the next couple of hours who that will be, and if it will even be one of the front runners that's been talked about. A good handful of them, of course, including J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, and a couple others. But we'll wait and see, Brendan, and we expect to know again by the day's end who that running mate is going to be.
The great Doug Reardon, political reporter for Atlanta News First. It's great to see that Atlanta News First Mike flag represented there in Milwaukee. We look forward to your reports. We know that you're going to be working some long days and long nights. Even just getting to the hotel after your 11 o'clock report tonight is going to be quite a challenge. And we thank you for being there to report on this.
We got a lot of coffee at the hotel. We'll be okay.
So that's the story directly from Milwaukee, from Doug Reardon. It's good to have him there. Of course, we're there all week doing this reporting on site. But this is more than just a convention. Boy, the times have changed since I started in this business 34 years ago. The political conventions at that point were carried live in prime time by all of the networks. And now they have become more streaming events, or we take samples from them, and the nominees are determined long in advance. Although the Democratic National Convention this year, still a question mark about what's going to happen with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. But there's been a huge development, of course, and it's more than just a news story. It has huge political implications, is the attempted assassination of former President Trump, who is also the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party just hours before the convention. There is a huge impact, obviously, politically, but then also there is some local reaction here in Atlanta. Remember that Georgia is going to be the site of multiple political rallies on both sides. Both parties are going to be here in Georgia because Georgia is a swing state. All polls right now show Donald Trump with a lead in those polls, but remember that Joe Biden won this state by 11,780 votes back 4 years ago. And so Georgia is a swing state, and we now have Rebecca Schramm, who's reporting on how the events of this weekend were seen here locally in Atlanta.
Governor Brian Kemp said here in America, we are supposed to settle our political differences peacefully at the ballot box, not through heinous acts of violence. Take a look. In his social media post, Governor Brian Kemp also said that all Georgians mourn the innocent life taken and pray for those still receiving care. He said he's deeply thankful that Trump survived the assassination attempt. Several other Georgia Republican politicians weighed in with similar messages. Democrats are condemning the assassination attempt as well. As you know, U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia is pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta. He talked about this at length in his sermon yesterday.
It's not about red and blue. This is not about right and left. This is about right and wrong. And the violence we saw yesterday is wrong.
As we've been reporting, a lot of people are concerned about security with the Republican National Convention getting underway this week in Milwaukee. We have learned that some police officers from Sandy Springs are headed there to assist with security. Live at the state capitol, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
And that is typical after any political convention does have local police from around the country helping. But of course, it's also a focus of what happened Saturday in Pennsylvania. Local police were augmenting Secret Service, and that's certainly to be a focus of the investigation. Tim Darnell, our great digital reporter with Atlanta News First Investigates, joining me now.
Shout out to Tim.
Tim, what are you looking for this week?
Brendan, we have been planning our coverage of the Republican National Convention for weeks. You and I both have been in on our station's planning meetings. Here's how we're going to cover night 1 of the convention, night 2, night 3, and night 4. All of these plans were completely just thrown into disarray, we all know, by what happened, really less than 48 hours ago, the attempted assassination of President Trump, former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, on Thursday, only less than 4 days from now, Donald Trump will become the first official White House nominee of a major party to be placed on a November ballot to have survived an assassination attempt since Theodore Roosevelt in 1912. Roosevelt obviously was a third-party independent candidate, but was shot in Chicago, as I recall, refused medical attention, delivered a 90-minute speech, all of which just added to his legendary political reputation. Donald Trump, we're expecting, we only heard within the last hour or so that we're expecting his vice presidential nominee to be named within hours, perhaps before night 1 of the convention. We're going to see just all of Donald Trump's supporters just galvanize, even more so than they already have. He has an emotional connection with his followers, unlike any political leaders that we've seen in several generations. Agree with him, not like him or not, you cannot deny the charismatic appeal and the emotional connection that he has with his followers. The entire notion of whether or not Democratic presidential incumbent Joe Biden will relinquish his reelection campaign, that has been just moved completely off the nation's political headlines, and we were thinking about whether or not that was going to happen during the first couple of nights of the Republican convention. So moving forward, I mean, if you're a Republican conservative, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, what happened on Sunday only deepens your connection with him. And moving forward, we'll see on Thursday night how he responds. We've seen a lot of speculation that will we see the old Donald Trump, who is very can act, very in a belligerent manner toward his political opponents? Will we see the Donald Trump that emerged a couple of times during his presidency, when he seemed to have a little bit more presidential maturity in a couple of State of the Union addresses? I remember one CNN commentator during his first or second State of the Union address saying this is where Donald Trump became the United States president. So we'll see. Also very curious to see how his supporters will respond. Will they be in a welcoming manner for all of Trump's opponents? Will this be a moment of national unity or a moment of continued national disunity?
Yeah, and there's already talk that there's going to be, Donald Trump himself is saying that he threw out the speech he'd already written. Now remember, I mean, he's a showman first and foremost. He'd be the first to say that. But everything changed in the crack of a gunshot on Saturday in Pennsylvania. I mean, this was something clearly nobody saw coming, but it has dramatically changed the political landscape. I think no one saw Joe Biden's debate performance coming. So this has been the least predictable political cycle probably since the year I was born, 1968, where things are happening so quickly that radically changed the political landscape. One of the things that is going to change the political landscape today, because former President Trump has said he's going to make this announcement today, is his pick for vice president and running mate. Remember, Mike Pence was his vice president, but that was not an option anymore. The two of them essentially had parted ways, and obviously Mike Pence had his own failed bid for the presidency during the primary process. Look, I'm not going to ask you to predict who the pick is, but what are your thoughts on the likely nominations, or at least the people we've heard that the president or former president might pick as his running mate, and how do you think those might affect the race?
From a purely regional standpoint, Brendan, I would think U.S. Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina would be one of the more intriguing picks. You're talking about an African-American U.S. Senator. Yes, he did run an unsuccessful presidential campaign, but he's from the neighboring politically significant, really a powerhouse state of South Carolina. Let's not forget, South Carolina effectively clinched the Democratic nomination for Joe Biden as a candidate in 2020. The campaign was struggling from an electoral standpoint. U.S. Representative Jim Clyburn, who is a close friend of Joe Biden, really delivered the state of South Carolina to Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, securing him as a nominee.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt, Tim, except to say, remember that Tim Scott also endorsed Donald Trump when Nikki Haley is the former governor of South Carolina and was mounting, an aggressive bid to unseat Donald Trump, and stayed in the race for quite some time, but she ended up essentially losing her own state, in large part because of Tim Scott's support. One other thing is J.D. Vance. Ohio used to be a swing state. It's no longer. It went purple, and now you could say it's solidly red. So J.D. Vance doesn't necessarily deliver Ohio. Ohio is already expected to be in Donald Trump's column. But there's been a lot of talk of J.D. Vance. What do you think about his potential as a running mate?
J.D. Vance, and also we'll mention Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota, both of whom, Doug Burgum did run an unsuccessful campaign. J.D. Vance has not, I don't believe, sought the nation's presidency. But if you look back to Trump's running mate and former Vice President Mike Pence, another conservative white male from the
Indiana.
Midwest or Upper Midwest. J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum don't offer, I think, the same level of excitement as perhaps a Marco Rubio of Florida or Tim Scott of South Carolina. Are you going to stay with the solid Midwestern pick, or are you going to do something that will perhaps strengthen the Republican GOP base in the Deep South? We all know in 2020, Joe Biden became the first Democrat to win Georgia, and also the first Democrat since Bill Clinton in 1992 to carry any deep southern state. So will a Tim Scott or a Marco Rubio, will that bring Georgia back to the forefront because they come from neighboring states?
Right.
Or are you just really solidifying something that is already there? We can talk about swing states and states that are moving purple. Georgia is kind of on that verge right now, but we remember Joe Biden only won Georgia by a little over 11,000 votes in 2020. So from my standpoint, Georgia is still a hugely important swing state.
No question. And when you look at those polling numbers, Joe Biden has a lot of work to do. Let me ask you, actually, there's a whole list of potential vice presidential running mates for Donald Trump. Could he pull a surprise? Could he pull a John McCain here? You remember when he chose Sarah Palin, then governor, or former governor now of Alaska. And that was a huge surprise, and it upended the campaign that year sort of twice. When he first made the announcement, it was such a fresh announcement, a female governor from Alaska, a much younger person than himself, which kind of took away from some of the age concerns. But then later, Sarah Palin's weaknesses affected his campaign. What do you think of the possibility that Donald Trump essentially, and he loves surprises.
He loves surprises.
What if he picks somebody who isn't on the list?
And it's interesting. I was watching a documentary over the weekend looking back at the life and career of John McCain. And the analysis that this documentary was presenting was saying, All right, John McCain knew he was trailing a little bit in the polls. There was a vast generational and cultural and social divide between him and then U.S. Senator Barack Obama. He really just swung for the fences. It didn't work out. To me, if I'm going to be surprised, I'm looking at U.S. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from New York. That she was one who we believe, was vetted fairly early in the process. Her name seems to kind of have faded from the headlines over the last couple of weeks. But also, let's remember, Donald Trump has said in the past that his number one consideration is who can take over as commander-in-chief. We saw what happened over the weekend. The capabilities of whoever his vice presidential running mate is going to be vetted very thoroughly. If they haven't already by his campaign, they certainly will be by the media, because he came within only a couple of millimeters from becoming a fatality over the weekend. So now we really have to look at the qualifications of who his running mate will be. That's going to be first and foremost.
That's smart.
Yeah, so we're just checking I'm just going to look at some of the YouTube comments over here. We've got some
Go ahead and
people
drop your
asking questions.
VP pick in the chat, everybody. Let's go.
Yeah,
Fill it up.
So some people are... where are YouTube comments? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing them in the chat here.
I got my comments. Don't worry, my guy.
Apologies here. Okay, there we are. All right.
Hire me, Atlanta News First.
So, okay. So great comments here on YouTube, and we thank you for following. We're going to keep an eye on those. One thought, Doug, as you mentioned, Elise Stefanik is really interesting, because one other thing that Donald Trump seems to value over all else is loyalty to him. And Elise Stefanik was not a real dyed-in-the-wool Trump supporter until she was, and then she was all in. And she has been one of his most vocal supporters. Remember that there are lots of people who were part of the first Trump campaign who are persona non grata now. I mean, even his former chief of staff. So you've got former, Secretary of Defense, et cetera, et cetera. There's several people who have held positions within the Trump campaign who are not endorsing him for re-election. This is kind of important. If there's somebody out there who's a huge supporter of his, he may reward them with the vice presidency. But remember, he's also a transactional politician. He's going to look at what this person can do for his own poll numbers. He's already in the lead. Is he looking for something that's going to put him farther in the lead, or a safer choice?
I'm thinking maybe, given the events of the past weekend, perhaps a safer choice. He has a solid electoral lead now. If we're talking loyalty, Brendan, there is no one in the U.S. Congress right now in either house, in either chamber, the House or the Senate, who is a more loyal supporter, a more ardent supporter of Donald Trump than Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Boo.
Now,
Get out of here.
her as a vice presidential pick, I think, would probably do a little bit more harm than good. But if we're looking at loyalty, Marjorie Taylor Greene as a running mate is very hard
idea.
to beat.
Wow, and that would be quite the story here.
That would be crazy.
Certainly for the people in Georgia and Atlanta. I do have one YouTube comment I wanted to read. It says, I think the VPs will be the most impactful ever. A vote for Biden is a vote for Harris, really, and a vote for Trump after the assassination attempt could be a vote for his VP. So that's really interesting, because we've talked about the debates and whether there will even be, even though there was scheduled a second debate, whether there will even be another presidential debate. I doubt Donald Trump would find it advantageous at this point, and more importantly, I feel like Joe Biden, unless he would try to come back with a stronger performance, may not come back for a second debate. But the VP debate, one or more, would be fascinating, because the vice presidents, there's many vice presidents who sort of vanished into the background, but we have been given a stark reminder from both of these candidates that their vice presidential picks could very well become president of the United States, and also just their age. I mean, that alone, despite the outside forces that we saw in play on Saturday.
let's also look at it from this perspective. Regardless of whether Joe Biden or Donald Trump, if they are the nominees come November, regardless of who wins the general election in November, neither one of them will be running for re-election in 2028.
That's right.
So whoever is in the vice presidential seat automatically will have a front runner, enjoy a front runner status.
Essentially an incumbent.
Essentially an incumbent.
Yeah.
Whether or not Vice President Harris will continue as vice president after November 5th. Whoever Donald Trump's running mate will be, if he wins after November 5th, will be in the vice presidency. The last vice president that I can remember who did not harbor any future political aspirations on his own was Dick Cheney, who was vice president under George W. Bush for 8 years.
Wow, I forgot
Bush
about
did
him.
not have to worry about anyone in his number 2 slot usurping his nomination capacity. It's hard to see that in a vice presidential pick nowadays. We all know VP Harris, who was then a senator from California, ran an unsuccessful campaign in 2016 or in 2020, and Joe Biden picked her as the nominee. Any one of the rumored candidates for Donald Trump's VP pick, Tim Scott, Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz even have run unsuccessful presidential campaigns.
That's
so
true.
we know that they harbor these aspirations to ascend into the Oval Office.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you bring up Dick Cheney. In 2000, I was covering the Bush campaign as a reporter in Houston. I was assigned to cover George W. Bush, who was then governor. I flew in his campaign plane that day when he flew to Wyoming. We actually stopped in Dallas to pick up the Halliburton, former Halliburton CEO, Dick Cheney, who had just resigned that position. And then we flew on that plane. I was in the back of the plane with the press corps, flying to Wyoming, where Dick Cheney was announced. And as you say, he didn't have any political aspirations. What's interesting is he was the chair of the committee vetting and picking the vice presidential options for George W. Bush. And eventually George W. Bush said, well, why not you? And he said, well, okay. And obviously the rest is history. But you're so right. Never before has a vice presidential pick been so important and so impactful, not just on the race, but on who may be leading this nation over the next 4 years, because it is certainly a question mark. Doug, we just talked to Doug, obviously, in Milwaukee. Tim, any final thoughts before we wrap our stream today?
I think, again, the number one issue we're looking for today is who will be the running mate for Donald Trump.
Right.
Let's also look at the gatherings outside Fiserv Arena in Milwaukee. Will we see any protesters, any anti-Trump demonstrators? Will the nation heed the call from both former President Trump and President Biden to cool the national political temperature? Will we see less people venting their frustrations on social media and heightening the social media political temperature? And we're going to learn more, hopefully, about the motives of the young man who is now seemingly confirmed to have attempted to assassinate the 45th President of the United States.
Wow.
Let's also keep an eye on Georgia delegates. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Governor Brian Kemp is at the Republican National Convention. He and Donald Trump have had a frosty relationship, but Brian Kemp was one of the many hundreds of officials posting their messages of condolences and support online Saturday night, only hours after the attempted assassination of the 45th President of the United States.
Just a fascinating and frightening series of events, but you're right. I mean, you've got extremes on both sides of the political spectrum right now sharing things that we simply can't repeat because they're not confirmed. They're not even close to reality, some of the things that have been proposed. Of course, we're investigators, so we look into everything. But we're not conspiracy theorists, and there seem to be conspiracy theorists on both sides, and hopefully that political temperature will be lowered. Tim Darnell, digital reporter and producer with Atlanta News First Investigates. Thanks for joining us. For everyone else watching, let's give you an idea of what to expect the rest of the week from us before we sign off. We're going to be doing this live stream every day at 11 o'clock. We'll stick with you as long as necessary to bring you the latest developments from Milwaukee and also Georgia perspective.
Okay, we got a hot date every day at 11. I'm going to schedule that. What is that? What's going on here? It's a conspiracy. Okay, so I like the Tim Scott option. I'm thinking strictly by who would give.
Reporting throughout Atlanta News First.
Trump
on every newscast. I'll be back at 7 o'clock tonight to report on some developments today at the Republican National Convention. But we have an entire team with Gray Television and also with Atlanta News First reporting on scene and from here in Georgia. So with that, I am Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe with Atlanta News First Investigates. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.
All right, so we got our week planned out for us. Let me get rid of this thing. What am I doing? We got a week planned out for us. We got 11 o'clock. Yeah, we can do this. I can do this from here, or I'll go to the studio. We can do 11 o'clock here and then 7 o'clock tonight. Hopefully, they'll be announcing the VP. That'll be crazy. I'm hoping and praying that it's just not any surprises. You know, don't pull out some random person that nobody knows about that isn't going to bring about more energy, if you will. Because, again, I think about that John McCain, Sarah Palin. In my opinion, that was a fail. I thought it made sense, but in retrospect, it was an epic fail. So hopefully and prayerfully, Donald Trump will select somebody who's going to bring a lot of energy. And again, now everybody's thinking about the vice president could potentially become the president. So they're looking at Kamala Harris. They're looking at whoever Trump selects. So prayerfully, Trump is selecting somebody who will be a good contrast to the Kamala Harris. Because again, that's why I think Vivek would be fantastic. Can you imagine Vivek debating Kamala Harris? Now, again, I understand there's some other reasons that people don't like Vivek, but I'm just saying, I think if Vivek, it would be it would just be amazing. It would be some must-see TV. So I'll go with Tim Scott. I'm perfectly fine with that. Again, somebody who brings some good energy, and he's young, so people can see the contrast, because that's what we need to help people see. Like, there's a contrast, not just an outsider for outsider's sake. That's what I felt like John McCain did. He just picked somebody nobody heard of. Everybody was Googling Sarah Palin. Like, oh, no. Hear me. I don't blame it on Sarah Palin at all. Excuse me. I don't think Sarah Palin was a good candidate by any means, but I don't blame her for John McCain's failed campaign by no means. But back to my point, I prayerfully, Donald Trump will not just select somebody just to be different. Oh, let me select this guy or this lady that nobody's ever heard of just to be different, but rather to be strategic. And I'm sorry, you got to be strategic in this regard. And I don't think it's, I don't know why people are treating it like, oh, he only selected this person because they will win this state. That's what elections are about. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. I don't trust anyone either, Kat, but I think there is I think especially after this past weekend, we have to keep in mind now there's a lot of tinfoil, let me tell you. I ran out of tinfoil, so that's why I didn't even put my hat on today. So I can go to the store and pick up some more tinfoil. There's a lot of tinfoil about what happened this weekend. So everybody who's cautious, everybody whose antennas are up and looking side-eye, I think you're probably somebody who's paying attention. You could be a Democrat or Republican. I think we all should be just kind of looking a little bit of side-eyed. Let me see that again. Let me run that back. That's the proper response. I think the smart response. I don't think we should all just immediately run in one direction because something happened and we all go with them in that direction. I don't think that's a smart thing to do at all. But back to this. Yeah, I think this is going to be this is going to be fun. I tell y'all already, I enjoy this because I think it's theater. I just think it's theater. Again, I told y'all I couldn't find it. I was watching a video this morning of street gangs that were pledging their support for Donald Trump, saying they will provide security. That thing was so funny to me because they were serious. They were not playing. They were real bona fide gang members that are like, yo, we'll provide you security. That thing had me in tears because I'm like, this dude has gotten it. It is very possible that Donald Trump will bring unity between warring gang factions in order to provide him security at his next rally. I'm telling you, this thing is, I don't know what you had on your bingo board for 2024, but I promise you did not have, after a failed assassination attempt, Donald Trump will unify the Crips and Bloods. You did not have that on your bingo board. Oh, gosh. Let me tell you what I didn't have on my bingo board. The president.
I don't want to be that guy, but didn't Kendrick Lamar unify the Crips and Bloods like 2 weeks ago?
Well, Trump is keeping them together. There you go.
He invited them all up on his concert during They Not Like Us.
Well,
it's kind of crazy.
You're not like us. What are you doing?
I'm getting ready.
What are you about to do, President Firstborn? Hold on, let me see. What are you about to do?
I'm about to go to the mall with Taylor.
How are you getting to the mall, Trina?
I'm going to drive in my car that I cleaned out today.
I don't pray enough, y'all. I don't pray enough. I remember when this person was like little. What'd you say?
I said, my side profile. Jeez.
What's wrong with your side profile? You're a cutie pie. What's wrong with your side profile?
It's not the vibe.
It's not the vibe? Hold on. Is her side profile the vibe? What's wrong with your side profile?
I don't know. But it's not the vibe. It is not the vibe.
Okay, go away so I can finish talking about being a dad. Why are you harassing me?
Give you a kiss.
Goodbye. You gonna do DJ Trina out?
DJ Trina on the turntables. Yeah.
I remember when she was just like a little tiny thing that fit in my hand. And now she's about to go drive to the mall. Oh my gosh. She's going to drive to the mall. Now, how's your room look? How's your room looking? Is it done? You need to change that quick. I can't. Well, how in the world? So anybody that has daughters, you already know. They're crazy. They're crazy. And I have 2 of them. Dare I say I have 3 of them because I think their mom acts just like them. So all 3 of them are like 3 musketeers of insanity sometimes. I'm telling you, they're crazy, man. But man, she was like little. Let me find that picture of her when she was a little child. Okay, where's this picture at? All right, let's see. I hope I remember. But yeah, man, like, it's crazy. Like, you were just a little tiny thing, and now all of a sudden, you're like a whole quasi pseudo adult. And I'm just going to the mall, and she's like doing this all the time now. So she's like, "Oh yeah, Dad, I need to run to the store." Yesterday it was, "I need to run to the store for what?" And she's, "Oh yeah, Dad, I need to run over here to the store real quick." Like, what are you talking about, you crazy person? But that's my girl. All right, here's a little fun. This is when she was. All right, gotta find a picture of me and her. I got her and my wife, of course. Duh. Where's me and you? Trina, we got no pictures of me and you? Am I in your life? Hey, Trina, come here. All right, so everybody who saw President Firstborn just a second ago, this President Firstborn when she was 3. And she was like, I don't know how old she was, but she was little. She's going to be so mad at me. I tell you, she's going to be so mad. I don't know. She might have been like maybe a couple months old in that, like that little tiny chair. Those chairs were the best. Bumbo chairs. Like, why are you looking like that? What's wrong with you? She probably, like, literally, it says 17 years ago. Good gracious. So she could have only been a couple weeks old then. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And now she's driving a mall. That's craziness. Okay, y'all, I'm all off task. All right, so pretending like I'm back on task, we will be doing this live stream at 7 o'clock tonight. Who knows? Who knows who's the... she looks... She has some really funny faces when she was a little girl. Terry, she has some funny faces. I mean, she was totally like just not feeling it. Yeah, she does look pretty mad there. You're right. No lie detected there. Okay, now I got to find another picture. So we will be doing the live stream tonight at 7. I have no idea who the possible VP is going to be. I'm excited though. Okay. Like this is the Trina that I remember. So she's going to be so mad at me. Who's that guy, man? Who's that guy? But look at this little tiny face. That was her when she was a little tiny baby. I mean, she might have been a week old, maybe 2. She couldn't have been too much older than that because I know the next picture is a good friend of mine. I know that. Let me make sure I'm going in the right direction. Yeah, she's got to be. Yeah. She's a little tiny thing. Good gracious, man. Get this out of here, Jason. I mean, that's what I remember. That is crazy. And now she's driving to the mall and putting on makeup. What in the world? Any dad with daughters, you understand what I'm going through. Like this is, all right. Yeah, she's going to be so mad at me. She's like, Dad, I can't believe you showed those pictures. So tonight at 7 o'clock, we'll do the, this is my VP choice there. There's President Firstborn. She's my VP choice. She just does not look like that anymore. All little kids look like squash grapes. They all look like little squash grapes. She doesn't look like that anymore at all. She's like a whole different human. That is amazing. So we'll be doing the 7 o'clock live stream going through the RNC. And I would love to know who your VP choice is. So down in the comments, let me know who your VP choice is. This is your VP choice. So you do not have to justify it. You do not have to argue and whatnot like that. Except don't make like your VP choice like your barista at the local Starbucks or something. Don't do that. At least give me somebody, that we can stand behind, we can all understand. But if it's a governor, of your state and that person name hasn't been mentioned, okay, rock on. But if it's somebody like that, maybe you should say like the governor of this state, and that'll make it so people know who you're talking about. Some people's names have become one-namers, if you will, or people know who they are. But if it's a governor and nobody knows who they are, maybe just put their name. But I would love to know who you think, and maybe I'll make a poll before we go live tonight at 7 so we can talk about it. But that face, man, that little face. No, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm telling you, man, she just turned 17 on Saturday. And it is crazy, Champlin. It is crazy. Like, what in the world? What happened to you? How'd you get like this? Oh, my gosh, these pictures. I'm trying to find. Yeah, like that face is totally different. Like, whose face is this? Like, who's this girl? Who is this? Why are you looking at me like that? That's my girl. Anyway, so I'll see y'all at 7 o'clock, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this morning. Let me know down in the comments who's your VP choice. Like I said, I'll make a little poll so we can be ready to get into it at the 7 o'clock live stream. It's fair to say we're probably going to be doing this all week. So, except Wednesday. I have Bible study on Wednesday. But we'll work it out some way or another. But I thank y'all so much for hanging out with me this morning. I appreciate everybody that's liked the video. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being a part of the most electrifying live chat on the planet. Because President Firstborn, appreciate you. I'm going to probably sit here the rest of the morning laughing at these pictures. That's going to probably be the rest of my morning. I got some work to do, but I need to get working. Everybody, thank y'all so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you real soon. Grace and peace. Take care.